This is how I started a company at 21 years old. When I created VoiceBox, it happened November 6, 2019. Earlier that year, I had studied abroad in Chester, England. I'd gone abroad for 5 to 6 months of a semester, and it was the most transformative time of my life. It was the moment that changed the outlook on where I was going and who I was going to become. I had a journal for the first time, and I remember thinking, I'm gonna write down all the ideas I have, the things that I want to do in life. And being in a different environment changed my life. It was one of those moments where all I was thinking about was my future. Again, you're a junior in college, you're thinking about, what am I going to do with my life? Am I going to apply to jobs? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Who am I as an individual? People always say that when I study abroad, you do some soul searching. And that is definitely something that I did. I had made commitments to myself that I was going to stop doing so many things that I was doing in my previous years at college and say, I'm going to change. I'm going to be a better person for myself. There's things that I was doing that I wasn't happy with. So it made me think, who am I going to become and why? When you go abroad, you start to realize who your real friends are. When you're not in the States, you're not with all your friends, no one's going to hit you up because you can't really do anything for them. You're halfway across the world. So I had a very small amount of people that actually called me, contacted me, made sure I was okay. And one of those people was Andy. You guys know him as Andy the chef, but he's one of my closest friends to this day. And he always made sure that I was straight. He always called me, let me know how he was doing today. And he was working so hard at that time too, staying up until 4, 5, 6 a.m. where I was waking up in England and he was still up in the studio and he was talking to me. And when you have these kinds of experiences, you see someone working this hard and trying to chase their dreams and visions, it makes you internally think, wait, so if this is my friend, someone around me, then what am I about to do in life? Am I just a friend of someone who's super successful and is so talented at all the things he does? Or am I going to have my own story as well? And I got to thinking, who am I as a person? What are the things that I like doing? And it sounds crazy, but something that I've always wrote in all of my bios on social media was professional conversationalist. And I kept thinking at the time then, how does someone who likes talking get paid to talk? It was one of those thoughts I had in my head. And something that had recently started gaining a lot of popularity was podcasts. And again, 2019 was still maybe early, maybe not, but it was early enough where I started watching podcasts all the time with a guy named Andrew Yang going from place to place to place, talking to Joe Rogan, talking to this person, that person, and talking to all these different people. And I started realizing, wait a minute. These people are just talking to someone who has something to say and they're communicating with them, having good conversation. I was like, wait, I can do this. If I had a show, that'd be awesome. And then the Oli Cannoli show came to fruition. And I was like, wow, like I want to have a podcast and make a YouTube channel. And then February 2019, I created a YouTube channel called Oli Cannoli, the one that you guys are watching this video on. I was thinking in my head, wait, like this is it. Like I have an idea now. Something is going. I'm going to create content. I want to create things and talk about things that I care about. This is awesome. Fast forward, the more thinking, you think about what are businesses I can create? What are different sectors and business avenues that the world is going? And a lot of the stuff I was watching with Andrew Yang was he was talking about automation, the future. I remember I'd seen articles about ChatGPT at the time. And again, this was 2019, before it really became popularized. And I was like, oh, what is it? I remember looking at the information, looking at where the future is going, the future of education, the future of social media, the future of all these different types of apps and platforms. And it got me thinking, what is the point of being a consumer all your life if you're not going to create yourself? And at the time, again, being abroad, when you're around so many different types of people, again, I was around people from Argentina, Brazil, Mozambique, Taiwan, Indonesia, Malaysia, Spain, obviously England. And then even in America, there's people that were in the same program as I was, but from Utah, Georgia, California. And it was so amazing to see so many different people from so many different places. We all kind of do the same things. We all eat. We all like talking. We all interact with one another. We all like being connected. We're human. We all have these interests that make us so similar yet also so different. And something I noticed is that a lot of the international students were using the app called WhatsApp, and a lot of them were using the voice memo feature. And it got me thinking, yo, this is awesome. Like even being Egyptian, people always use WhatsApp. People like talking. Again, it's easier to type English, but it's really hard to type Portuguese or Arabic or Russian or Mandarin. So again, speaking in those languages is a lot easier. So that's why people use voice memo features more in the international space. So then when I ended up going back to the United States for my fall semester senior year, again, still 2019, fall semester, I got to using WhatsApp still to talk to a couple of friends. And there was a friend from Argentina that I was talking to, and I was thinking in my head, wait a minute. Like, this is actually really cool because it came to the point where I was talking and they were talking and we were still communicating. Like I felt like they were still around me. It was more real. It was very social. And I was thinking, interesting, if I were to send them a DM on any other social media platform, it wouldn't really hit the same. You wouldn't really have that kind of conversation. But the voice memo feature was really awesome. And again, it was easier than just calling them because again, sometimes like to sit back, call, pick up, it was a longer winded process sometimes. Again, we're all so busy. We're all moving from thing to thing to thing. So then it made me think, hey, is there an app that just has a voice platform where all it is voice memos? I couldn't find it. So I knew that I had to be the one to create it. And that was how the idea of VoiceBox was created. And then in turn, when I created it, I was having all these ideas. I needed to tell someone the idea. I remember calling my brother and telling him about the idea. And he was like, yeah, that's a good idea, but I feel like you've had better ideas. Because that summer before, when I went to Egypt, I was in that journal all the time, writing different ideas, looking at different sectors, studying different sectors, seeing how I could make money this way or that way, building a career this way or that way. And again, trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to think of different ways to cement myself into an industry. And lo and behold, I ended up choosing VoiceBox out of all the ideas I had. And the reason as to why was because I felt like it was going to solve a problem that I saw happening before my very eyes. When you start to see problems that are happening, you start to think, okay, the reason why this is happening is because social media. Obviously, the Social Dilemma, a Netflix series in where it showed us the actual problems of all these things, showed us the problems of Facebook, Instagram. It showed us that teenage suicide is only increasing now, and it showed us all these problems that were happening. And I knew that something like VoiceBox would really help and really assist getting people to the next step, and would really help and allow people to, again, use social media and be in touch with their friends and family, but in a healthier manner where they're actually communicating with their friends rather than staring at edited photos and just doom scrolling. So during that fall semester, when I finally had the idea, November 6th, 2019, I remember around that time, people were telling me, hey, apply to jobs, hey, do this, hey, do that. So many people were pressuring me to apply to jobs. Go think of this, go do this, go do this. Hey, the point of college is to get a job. I don't know what it was, but intuitively, I trusted myself. I trusted my intuition, and I didn't give it any energy. I just had a feeling something was coming. I had a feeling that I was gonna have an idea, or I was writing in my journal. I was gonna think of something. I was gonna think of a way out that would inspire me to keep going in a different path, because I knew that getting a 9-to-5 job just wasn't in the cards for me at the moment, because you don't think of it in that way. You think of it as, I wanna be a creative. I wanna be an entrepreneur. I wanna think of the idea. I don't wanna work a 9-to-5. So you constantly keep thinking, and you're putting yourself under this intense pressure. Lo and behold, VoiceBox was created. So then that winter break, I remember going through this metamorphosis. I don't know what it was, but around that time, I was going through a really bad time. My body was attacking itself. I literally was getting skin rashes everywhere. My brain was hurting. My sleep schedule was destroyed. I couldn't sleep anymore. I was waking up in anxiety attacks, and I didn't know as to why. But internally, I just felt like something had to change. I had to go through a metamorphosis. Something was happening to me. And then eventually, by the end of that winter break, before I went back to school for my last semester, I had gotten the first conversation with a developer. I signed an NDA for the first time. And I'm like, wow, now I'm talking to people about how much would this cost? How much would this cost? And when you start to learn how much things would cost, okay, can I do that? Yeah, I can manage that money. Okay, cool. You start to learn, you start adding things, you start designing it for the first time. You start really doing it. And again, this is all in the creation mode. And then Susquehanna University had an opportunity called House of Hawks. And what Susquehanna University did was they basically allowed for people to pitch an idea, like Shark Tank or any pitch competition that there is. And I remember getting so excited and preparing for it, making a slideshow, having friends help me out. And it's this energy. You want to create. Fast forward to the event. I remember pitching and I went last. I was so nervous. Again, my heart was in my neck. I didn't even know how to react or talk. I remember talking to the judges and I'm looking at them and I'm expressing the idea and I'm talking to them. And they're not really getting it. They're a little older. They're not getting the modern social media age. They don't really see the problems. So they looked at me and thought, I don't know. They didn't really understand it. And I was okay with that, because in turn, me not winning anything, it made me hungrier. It made me want to do it even more. The interesting part was the questions that I got from the students when they raised their hands. They were really intrigued. They were really interested in it because they were thinking, this kind of makes sense. Wait, I see where you're going with this. Obviously, designs weren't what it looks like today, but they were like, yo, like, you're onto something here. That motivated me. If I would have won something there, would I have been as motivated? Maybe, maybe not. Would I have gotten this grandiose feeling in myself, this arrogance of, yeah, I got it. I knew what I was talking about. But for some reason, it lit a fire under me. I was so hungry and motivated to work harder and again, prove them wrong. And that was one of the first moments of failure that really in turn created a successful story. Then the craziest thing happened, coronavirus. We all get sent home, and the rest of my semester, I finished it online. But then after I graduate, it was this anticlimactic graduation where it's like, okay, now what? What's the next step? I remember thinking, okay, well, regardless, I need to start talking to developers. I need to find lawyers. I need to basically learn how to do this thing. As a first-time entrepreneur or founder, you don't really know anything to do. So you're like, okay, bet, this is what I'm gonna do. Start calling developers, lawyers. And all I did was go on Twitter and I said, hey, looking for a developer, hashtag coding, hashtag developer, hashtag app. I had maybe like 10, 15 people hit me up. Long story short, the first person who ends up calling me, Christopher Jones, who was interacting with me and we talked on the phone. Hey, this is the idea I have. What do you think? Et cetera, et cetera. He believed in it. He was like, yo, I actually really like your idea. I would love to work on this in the future. I let him know that, hey, I'm going to be talking to other developers, but I'll be sure to get back to you. Fast forward, other developers didn't really fit for me. I didn't really want to do the coding myself. You have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. I knew that I couldn't do the coding myself. So I outsourced it. I ended up choosing Chris as my lead developer. And then the next couple months, we started designing it together, creating it, saying what it's going to have, what it's not going to have, looking at different apps and researching and seeing what are the good things about the apps that I personally like that I want to see within this app. And then I realized something. Wait, I got to start making some money. Yeah, it's coronavirus. Yeah, everyone's locked in the house, but I have to find a way to make some money. So at that time, there was an Amazon warehouse nearby my house. I was like, you know what? Let me apply there. But then in the meantime, I got a job being a pizza delivery boy. So look at this, a guy who graduated with a finance and biology major degree from Susquehanna University, who's now a pizza boy and an Amazon warehouse worker. So to me, I didn't care. All I was there for was the coin, the money that was needed to create this platform that I believed in so much that I wanted to see come to fruition. Long story short, it took great hours working 50-60 splits at Amazon, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And there was nights where I get a call from the pizza shop saying, hey, can you work 6 to 9? So theoretically, I was working 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and then I'd come home, eat, and then from 9:30 or 10 till 1 in the morning, I was working on the designs for VoiceBox, talking to my brother, sitting there crafting, thinking of the ideas, because again, you need to do the work. And I was so inspired, but something I was not prepared for by the end of this was burnout. I worked so hard and was grinding my tail off, just make the money, because I knew what needed to be done. And the end date goal was October 31st, 2020 for our first beta launch. And as you guys know, and you can see, it didn't launch until 2024. So again, it took months, years of this to actually come to fruition. And in that meantime, creating non-provisional patents, talking to my lawyer, talking to different people, having all these different conversations that I was going through of learning, knowledgeable. You had to know the game, and you can't just step into something and expect the thing to happen for you. And in all of those things, I started realizing how many life lessons you have to learn, how many different things about the game you have to learn. And you will never get a blessing in your life or something to happen in your life unless you've done the work for that thing. And if you want it to last for a long time and be there for real, you have to go through the grind. You have to go through the hours, the years of struggle, persistence. Because do you really want this? Is this something you really want? And it was a decision I had to make in my life was, is this something I really want? Yes. And I was willing to grind and persevere and stay patient for it. Then this evolved and it was constantly growing, and where I got a logo designer from my cousin and he helped me design a logo. And it was an amazing logo and I was so excited to have it. Then you patent things, then you go through this process. And then a whole year passes by, another year passes by with this process. Then in 2023, I started doing a bunch of different things like applying to grants, applying to pitch competitions, doing all different things, applying to networking events even, just trying to meet people that can help me get to the next step. Because at the end of the day, nothing in this life that you want to succeed and go far in, you can do it alone. You cannot do it alone. You need people. You need a team. You need support systems. You need to learn from other people. You can't do everything by yourself. And that's something that people have to learn. And if you want to go into business as well, you have to know that you cannot do everything by yourself. You have to find people that are going to help you. You have to find people that are going to assist you, and then you assist them as well. Again, it's about creating those relationships, not just having the money to pay for it, but again, creating those relationships. Another thing for me around that time is doing pitch competitions. I remember applying to pitch competitions the year before and getting denied. Then the next year, that same pitch competition I applied for, boom, I got accepted because I went through the struggle. I went through creating a pitch deck. I went through creating all the little documents that you need to make yourself more official, to be a real company. And again, it's a process. It just didn't happen overnight. But the idea started November 6th, 2019. But the first time I really got to present at a pitch competition was end of 2023. So really think about, it took years to even get on stage to really talk about the company. First time live TV, I'm talking on stage. I'm like, hey, my name's Ali, and my heart is literally beating in my forehead right now. And you're so nervous, but you have to do it anyways. You're scared. You got to do it anyways. You have to go out of your way to chase that success or chase that next level. You can't be aspiring for success or aspiring for something greater in life if you're not willing to take the risk, if you're not willing to do something that makes you really uncomfortable. And granted, I might be a social person. I might be someone who's pretty confident. But when I was on stage there, I was so nervous. Again, I was shaking. I was so scared, but you have to do things scared. And growth happens when you do the things that you're uncomfortable doing. Journey into just getting onto stage. And then from there on, again, applying to different accelerator programs, to applying different grants, figuring out how am I going to fund this? How am I going to do it if this starts going and this starts going? It's so many layers to becoming a company, becoming a business. But all in all, this is how you create a company. You go through this grind. And whether people want to believe it or not, you don't have to be $100 million net value or net worth to say it's a company. The second it was created, in my head, I knew this was a company. I'm creating a company. Even when people didn't believe in me for years and years and years, and you were saying like, hey, get a job, man. What are you doing? What are you doing? Do this. Oh, that's just a dream, man. Focus on something more real, something more actual. but to you it is actual. So my advice to you is, if you have a dream, you have something, protect it. Don't share it with too many people, because all people are going to do is spread their insecurities onto you. This is how I created a company at 21 years old. And I'm so excited to be sharing this with you guys and getting the app out there and allowing you guys to try beta version, trying the first couple versions of VoiceBox. It's something I really cared about, something I was passionate about, and I would love to share with you guys. And hopefully I'll be able to put everything in the description down below for you guys to try it out. I look forward to talking more about this. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and leave comments down below of things that you've dealt with in your company and your business. I really appreciate the love, the support, and trying out the app. I'll be sure to see you guys next week on another video. See you later.